It's Duke week. I fucking hate Duke.
I know it's a little less on the football field, but it does
No,
carry over.
I hate Duke. You ever meet anybody that goes to Duke?
Not anybody ever liked.
Yeah, I mean, all they do is talk about the fact that they went to Duke. I hate people like that.
It's worse than an Ivy League.
It is because they think they're better than an Ivy League for not being an Ivy League, but we're like an Ivy League, but we're good at sports. That's like their thing.
Right. North
It's
Carolina's just
nauseating.
it's way prettier. Chapel Hill's way sicker.
It's nauseating.
You're watching Domed in Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Domed In Pod. Here we are. We're going to be doing the Syracuse versus Duke preview, coming off the big win at Clemson in Death Valley Junior, officially Death Valley Junior. Um, Syracuse is kind of riding high right now, and obviously the injury of Steve Angeli hurts, but some of that pain has faded, and I think we're kind of excited for Ricky and what the team can bring. So you know what these are. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with a Duke team preview. Tav and I are gonna get into our four downs, what we want to see from this week, maybe what we want to clean up from last week, stuff like that. And then we're gonna do a Fran Brown Round Up at the end. And then this is a space for questions at the end, fan comments. So we have one that we're going to discuss. I already discussed a little bit on X, but we're gonna keep discussing here a little bit. And please like and subscribe. All right, Duke team preview. Let's do it. Um, Duke. The main thing for Duke, they have a transfer quarterback who came in from Tulane. His name's Darian Mensah. He was a really good player as a freshman at Tulane last year. And I do think he's a very good player. He is a guy that relies heavily on play action. So he's a quarterback that likes to have the run set up the pass, and he's going to use that play action to be successful. So just a few stats here for you. Duke had 160 rush yards versus Elon and 150 rush yards versus NC State. Those are obviously their two wins. They also had 140 rush yards versus Tulane. Now, they didn't lose that Tulane game because of Mensa or because of them not moving the ball down the field. They lost it because of turnovers and also their defense. But then Illinois, where they really kind of struggled with that, was the game where Mensa didn't play great, and they only had 82 rush yards in that game. So overall, if you're going to want to stop Mensa, you're going to have to stop the run against this team, and then that's really, really important in my opinion. As for the rest of Duke, they have a little white guy, number 18, Barkate, and he's from Harvard. So obviously now he's at Duke, so the more obnoxious version of Harvard at Duke. Um, and uh, and he's gonna kill us. He is the classic guy who fucking kills us, who we just cannot stop. Um, and so I'm definitely a little bit worried about Barkate as we look onto them. They also have another guy, Keyshawn Brown, I believe is his name, and he's another little scat guy who he's quite good. But he's little. He's a sophomore, number 7, and he can play a little bit. Then when it comes to their running backs, they have two really that they rely on, Castle and Moore. Um, their running game has been a little bit subpar this year, in my opinion. Obviously, we just stated their rush yards. They had good rush yards against Elon, against NC State. NC State has been not quite, I think, what some people thought they were going to be, especially defensively this year. So overall, I haven't been so impressed in the games that I've watched for them with their running backs and with their running game and their offensive line. And Syracuse is going to have to find a way to shut that down. And so those two guys are solid, but they're not great. On defense, they're much better against the pass than they are the run on defense. So just just to let you know, on defense, when it comes to running passing game, they give about 260 yards per game, and then on rushing on defense, they give about 153. So 250 in the air is not terrible. It's actually pretty decent in college, but 153 per game especially considering they've played Elon and Tulane, and they've also played NC State. Not like they've had the toughest schedule coming in. Illinois is obviously a decent team, but after their loss to Indiana, I'm even kind of questioning how good Illinois is going to be this year. So, all in all, Duke is really maybe not what people thought they were going to be to start the year. People, I think, had really high expectations for this Duke team coming in. I think people thought this was a team that was a really dark horse chance for the ACC. I never really bought into that. I know you didn't either, Tab. We're not Manny Diaz guys. I think he's a solid defensive coordinator, but I don't really see him as a big time head coach at a big time college football program. One of the things is last year with Malik Murphy when they brought him in, I thought he got worse at Duke last year. I thought he got worse from the limited time we would see him at Texas. He looked okay, and then he just didn't really pop at Duke. Now he's at Oregon State. He's been okay at Oregon State, but I don't necessarily think that's a great situation for him either. So unfortunately, I think he made the wrong decision there, Malik Murphy, chasing the bag to go to Duke, and I don't think Mensa made a great decision either so far, to be honest. It kind of looks to me like Tulane upgraded getting Retzlaff, who obviously became available late in the portal because he was out there fucking in Utah, which you're not allowed to. The Mormons do not let you fuck there, okay? So if you go to Utah, do not start fucking because the Mormons do not like that,
You
okay?
just gotta marry. You gotta marry first. You got unlimited
Right, sorry.
Unlimited of that. You just gotta. There's a qualifier to it.
Very, very good point, Tav. It's the premarital sex that don't do that in Utah because the Mormons don't like that. So Retzlaff got run out of BYU, and damn, I think BYU is really wishing they had him because Retzlaff looks like a big time player to me, and BYU looks like a really solid team that if they had Retzlaff right now could maybe be a dark horse national championship contender. So I feel like Tulane's probably looking at it like Mensa did us a favor getting out of here. I think Mensa made the wrong move going to Duke. I don't necessarily think leaving Tulane's the worst decision for him, but I do feel like Duke is not the place where he was going to be successful. He did get the bag in the NIL, so you got to give him credit. And Duke's had good NIL, so they've been able to recruit, some of these guys that you maybe wouldn't think would go there. And so credit to Duke because they're trying, right? And I give Duke the administration and such a lot of credit, but I don't see Manny Diaz as a long-term guy here. And so when it comes down to this Duke team, they're a little bit underwhelming for the expectations to start the year, especially because Manny Diaz prides himself on like a tough defensive guy, and they do not look tough defensively. They're giving up all kinds of yards on the run.
Yeah, I totally agree. That front seven is a mess. It looks like early in the year, dude. Like we said, we're not huge Manny Diaz guys. He might be fine at Duke, who knows? But what's clear is, to your point, Duke is spending money on football. Like Mensa going there was a surprise. Like he was one of the top quarterbacks, honestly, on the market in the transfer portal this year after a freshman year. Like you're talking multiple years of eligibility here coming in. Duke was kind of a shocking choice when he landed here. Like I think we kind of agree on that. Like
Totally.
Kind of a weird one, to be honest. Like we said, kind of a one where he may end up regretting this a bit. I don't know if it's going to be Nico UCLA quite regret, but it could be something he may not truly wish he could have back kind of moving forward. But yeah, their secondary is legit though. Like Terry Moore, interesting story, converted running back, All-American last year, second team All-American, I think. Good player. The corner, Rivers, I believe, is also, I think, projected high pick, at least first couple days. This is a talented secondary. So honestly, good test for Ricky in his first game here. But I think honestly, it's also a defense that matches up well for us to hopefully lean on the run game a little bit and make this a little bit easier for Ricky in his first big start.
So that's a great point. The secondary is very good, and then as you were saying, the front seven's kind of a mess. It does match up well for us to run the ball here. I just want to quote some stats again from the first 4 games that they've had. Against Elon, they let the Elon QB run for 60 yards and a touchdown. Again, like that was a game until the fourth quarter versus Elon. So that's not impressive. They let them kind of run all over them, especially the QB. So that's something to look for. Illinois had 120 plus rush yards on them. Retzlaff when they played Tulane in the Revenge Bowl Retzlaff had 111 rushing yards, and he was running all over the place in that game. Like, if you even pull up the highlights, he's just running left and right, and the defense has no contain on him. It's almost like they didn't know he was going to run, but he's a big time runner. Retzlaff, he's a dual threat. I know he's white, and I know he's fucking in Utah, but he's a dual threat, guys. Maybe a triple threat considering the way he was fucking in Utah. And then Hollywood Smothers, who's a really good back. I actually really like Hollywood Smothers at NC State.
Player.
I really like him. He had 123 rush yards last week. So this is a defense that has been beat up. These guys have been running on them, and the opportunities are going to be there. So, as you were saying, it sets up well for us to maybe get Ricky a little more comfortable in this game, running the ball, even if it's not him running, even if it's a little bit of Willis, a little bit of Nixon, establishing that run. Similar thing we did to Clemson. You can see our shorts that are out there about Willis getting the ball early. We did a whole film room on Willis getting the ball early and how that really set us up for success. And again, I think if you look back to even at times last year, we called it out when we played UConn last year of like, hey, LeQuint, we used him as a bit of a battering ram. That got us a lot of one-on-ones on the outside. And then we got the ball to our playmakers on the outside. So that's kind of the setup that I want to see against this team is like, let's batter them until they're forced to come in and try to stop the run. And that gives Ricky easier throws over the top, one-on-one, where he can throw the ball up to Gill. He could throw the ball up to Justice Ross Simmons. He can catch, Cook coming across the middle with a guy trailing him because he's one-on-one and he's running a nice drag route. Like those kind of things can make it really easy for Ricky. So that's kind of the game plan that I would like to see against this team.
I agree. I completely agree. Like, I think this really hopefully sets up well for us to ease Ricky into this game, right? Like, we don't need to make it difficult on this kid making his first start. Let's make it easy for him to start. Let's lean on the big fellow. Let's get him the ball early. So I completely agree. I want to lean on the run game. Let's beat this defense up. Like we said, like opponents nowhere near as good as Syracuse have beaten them up, and I think they're susceptible to this. So I expect us to come out with a few runs early here again.
And especially what our offensive line did last week to a top-tier defensive line in Clemson. Like, I want to see that again from our offensive line. I thought the offensive line was really, really good last game against Clemson. And I think we're seeing some growth. We're seeing Byron Washington start to mix in. We're seeing Cruz start to get to the next level for us. Collins has been really solid as a center all year. That was kind of a low-key huge pickup for us after Petrie went down. Ferguson has had his up and down moments. We've called him out for maybe missing protections here and there, but he was really solid again last week, didn't really miss many protections. And then when Mack and Weatherspoon have been healthy, this offensive line looks like an absolute unit.
It should be interesting here going against this Duke team, and it is nice that this game is at home this week. I hope we got a sold out crowd, parents weekend. Like the Dome is going to hopefully be rocking for this game. So I am hopeful that the defense shows up again this week, just like they did last week. I think we've given E-Rob the credit he deserved for the performance last week. Like that was a really good job by the Cuse defense. I think overall they are getting better. And so we want to kind of see that progress again this week against a good Duke offense. Honestly, an offense that I think is probably second best we faced this year, right? Like just after Tennessee. That Clemson offense is struggling, dude. I think Duke has scored at least moved the ball. Like, even if I don't know if the top end talent is the same, they've just got some guys like at quarterback. Like Benz, I think is playing better than Klubnik is right now.
The quarterback's better. I don't know about the rest of the offense. We'll see.
The rest of the talent isn't the same there, but the quarterback.
Because my one thing is last week we put our corners on islands against NFL guys, and we saw what happens. And they're not going to go up against the same level of talent. Obviously, I think the world of Barcade. I was playing around. I think the world of that gay is really good. I think he's going to fucking kill us. But besides that, like I think we can shut this team down on the outside. And so let's commit to stopping that run. But let's jump into our four downs because I don't want to waste too much more time here on Duke. Let's.
All right, dude, you want to lead off here on the four downs?
Yeah, give me the ball, coach. Ricky. Obvious number one choice, but not just Ricky, kind of the Ricky Nixon partnership now, right? Like one of the things I think that we've kind of learned so far is Nixon is just an excellent play caller and he seems to be able to get his QBs comfortable. And I know it might not be right away, but I am interested to see like what Nixon has in this offense for Ricky that might be a little bit different, and also what kind of plays he's going to call in order to get Ricky super comfortable in this game, because I know I 100% trust Jeff Nixon. I think he's one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. I mean, in the whole country. And I think he's going to be a head coach in the NFL not very long from now.
I completely agree, dude. I think you bring up the key point is that it is a partnership between quarterback and offensive coordinator, right? Like the reason why it worked so well with McCord last year, why it was starting to really blossom with Angeli, is the connection that these guys have with Coach Nixon, with the offense, and then obviously how that translates to their comfort with their teammates, And so, like anything, dude, like this podcast, great singer-songwriter combos, you need partnership in
You
these
need
things.
chemistry.
So, right, totally. And I think it will be a little bit different here. Like we were really starting to get to the point of airing it out there with Steve. I don't think we're going to do that, or at least I kind of hope we don't come out and just run and gun right away. Like I want to see us establish, like we've talked about, a running game, maybe some quick action for Ricky, some easy stuff just to get his confidence going, and then we kind of ease him into the flow of things. But yeah, I think really you hit it there. It's the partnership that's going to grow.
Yeah, and the other thing is, Coach Nuns was talking about Ricky this week, and that kind of got me hyped up, to be completely honest with you. Kind of love the way he was talking about Ricky. Is just like, here's this guy who, is definitely, uh, let's call it he was a Steve guy because he had such a deep connection with Steve. And now they're asking him about Ricky, and the number one thing is he's like, Ricky's just a superb athlete, throws the ball beautiful, like all these things that got me kind of charged up for Ricky. So I think that there is, and this is a hallmark, I think, of Fran Brown teams. There's buy-in on Ricky, and it starts with Fran at the top, but it goes to Nixon, it goes to Coach Nuns. Like there is buy-in that Ricky can come in and be successful, and I think they know what Ricky can do and where his limitations might be, and I think they're going to continue to put him in situations where he's going to be successful, and I think they're also going to get better at coaching for him, right? So it might not start out as perfect as we want to see it, but I think that's one of the reasons why I said earlier in the preview is like, if we can grind out a win here versus this Duke team, and if we can, find things that are successful for Ricky during the bye week, Nixon's going to go back and Coach Nuns is going to go back and they're going to go amplify those things. You know what I'm saying? They're going to go take those things that he was doing well and they're going to continue to amplify them. They're going to continue to refine what they're doing and only get better and better. So like, I'm interested to see how it starts, but I understand how it starts isn't going to be perfect. But I know and I trust that as Nixon gets more and more information and more real time reps on Ricky, he's going to continue to build more and more stuff that's going to help Ricky be more successful.
I totally agree. The other thing too is so glad we kept Coach Nuns on staff, man. Like, what
Nuns.
a good job by Fran keeping him here. And like, what was he, the special teams coordinator? I think when
Yeah.
he was on Dino's staff, like his transition to being quarterback coach has been pretty flawless. Hear that from special teams coach to QB coach. And I just think I like the presence that he brings to the staff, right? Like, I like the confidence, like you said, he's instilling in Ricky. I think he's got a really good relationship with that QB room, which obviously there was a pretty, I'm not going to say bitter, but it was a very close battle, right, between those guys, or at least is what's been billed to us. And I think, like, with two guys that really
Heavy
got their hopes and
competition.
expectations up, right? It was a legit competition, like with guys who were probably expecting in their heads to win the job, and like it just kind of it shows how strong the staff is from the top down, obviously not just including Fran, but obviously down to the position coach level. Like we have buy-in, like you've said, like we've got the buy-in from across the board. And so yeah, eager to see this partnership grow this week. And honestly, it's kind of interesting that we're getting to see a second quarterback here so quickly. It'll be interesting.
Hey, I just want to say, you go back and watch our previews. This is something we said. We said we're going to see multiple quarterbacks this year. It's going to happen.
Totally. I didn't think it was going to happen quite like that, but it was
It's
part of the
devastating when
prophecy,
it does, but this is college football.
Yeah.
You need multiple guys. And like we're so lucky last year with McCord that we didn't need multiple guys because I don't know that we had a guy on the roster who was ready to, step in any shape or form for McCord. But in college football now, you need multiple guys. You just do.
I don't know if you've seen star Marshall quarterback CDRW slinging tutties right now. Not so fast, my friend. That's my Lee Corso tribute for the year there.
Okay. I'll give him he's no longer the worst quarterback in the FBS anymore.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
All right, you want to kick off number 2?
Yeah, number 2. I don't know how long we'll spend on this because we've beaten this horse pretty well. I was trying to avoid potential, no words for certain platforms there. But Mr. Willis needs the ball early and often in this game. I think we both noticed and were very, very excited about his 3 early touches to start the game against Clemson last week. Like, set the tone for the entire ball game. I would love to do that again at home against this, quite frankly, sort of soft Duke front 7 that I think we can definitely run on, and our big offensive line can really lean on throughout this game. So that's second down for me is let's get the big fellow the ball. Let's sprinkle in Will Nixon as well. Like, this is a game where we should have 30 carries minimum.
Yeah, I want to get woke. I want to get real woke with it. I want to run a lot of read options. Shout out to who is that on TikTok? Who is that?
I don't know, Matty J or something
Matty
like
J.
that.
Matty J. Clemson guy was really mad about the woke play calling that they were doing on 3rd and 1 with the read option. I want to get woke. I want to call read options. I want opportunities to put that defense in positions where they have to make decisions, right? Because that defense has proven that they cannot contain the quarterback. And so when you give them that threat of Ricky potentially running, the threat is more important than him actually running in a lot of ways, for me at least, because that's going to open up a lot more lanes for Willis. So, again, Willis, Nixon, I even want to see some Hart get in there. I want to see us mix in some guys. I want to see that QB run. I want to see that RB run. I want to see us get downhill. I want us using our offensive line. I want them punching holes through this front 7 because I think if they played the way they did last week, I think there's a real chance our offensive line might just push some people around for 60 minutes. And that is the way everyone should want to win a football game. Let's push these guys around and beat them up a little bit. And that's just what I want to see. And I want to see it from Ricky. I want to see it from Willis. And I want to see it from Nixon. But I think, as you said, there is something that is key to making sure that it is Willis to start the game. He is a big man. He is a battering ram. He is the kind of guy who could really just beat up this defense and put them in a position where they're scrambling for 4 quarters because they took a knockout punch in Q1.
Totally. We've seen the effect that he has on teams when we get him the ball early. I mean, he sent half the Tennessee defensive line to the locker room, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he was battering them.
And that's another defensive line that's full of pro guys, like guys who are playing on Sunday.
And early on in that Clemson game, those Clemson NFL players decided pretty quickly they didn't feel like tackling him.
Business decisions. Business decisions across the field in that Clemson game.
Totally. So this is enough said for me on that. Like, I want him getting the rock early and often.
Agreed. Let's jump into number 3. Barkate. I've been talking about him all preview. I'm going to keep talking about him. I'm a fan. I like Barkate. I think he's really good. I also think this is the type of player that usually kills us. The speedy white guy who's kind of everywhere on the field, and he's making, sideline catches. He's making catches over the middle. He's got great hands. He's got great feet. He's tough in the red zone. I think he's an excellent player. I think it's a big spot for it's a much different kind of cover, I think, than some of the Clemson guys that our guys have had to cover, or even the Tennessee guys that our guys have had to cover. So it's a different kind of challenge now for Samuel, for Peel, for Kerr, for these guys who have been excellent. I mean, they have been excellent, right? Like, our secondary has been really, really, really strong. The Tennessee game was their weakest game, and they've gotten better and better every game. And I actually didn't even think they were that bad in the Tennessee game. I think we were just overcompensating because we could not stop the run in that game. And I think that has a lot more to do with how good Tennessee is than how bad we are. Personally, at least that's my take at this point. Is I think that Tennessee offensive line, that Tennessee run game, and Joey Aguilar right now, they're looking real good. They're looking hot. So like I'm more enthused after watching what they've done to Georgia, after watching how they've played, because even in their loss against Georgia, they were putting up numbers on offense. So in general, I think our secondary has been really, really good. I'm excited to see what they can do against a different kind of challenge in Barkgate, and I want to see if we can try to shut him down because he is their number one receiving weapon. And I really think if you're able to take him away, and especially if we're going to play a little bit more aggressive against the run, keep our, kind of front six, front seven ish up against the run like we did against Clemson. That's what we did. We loaded that box and we said, okay, go beat us, Klubnik, with your arm. I think if we do a similar thing, if we load that box and we can somewhat stop the run and you could take away Barkgate, I think this Duke offense is going to struggle, and they have been prone to turnovers to start the year.
I agree. I agree across the board. Like, Barkate's going to be the guy who is going to be a tough cover for us because they're going to move him all around. Like, they're going to put him in spots that make it a tough matchup for us, and they're going to attack us with him all over the field. Like, he reminds me a little bit of like Charlie Jones, Purdue receiver.
That's a great
Do you remember him, dude? Like, just like similar size profile, like a little bit bigger than you like think he's going to be. Like, but he's just quick and he's just all over the field. Like, he's going to catch some balls on us. We just have to be ready for that, and they're going to scheme up some ways to get him the rock. But to your point, I think it's about limiting what he does against us, being aware of where he is on the football field, and if we can try and take him away on key downs, I think that's sort of our recipe for success. Like you said, like, let's get them off track, let's get them going second, third, fourth options on the field here.
They don't have those, right? So that's the key.
Exactly. Like, that level of talent drops off pretty far with the weapons on this team.
And the other thing that I said, I said kind of what, like, similar to what you're saying, right? Is like, I mentioned Peel, Kerr, and Samuel. And the reason I mentioned all three of them is because this is not going to be a guy where you take one corner and you say Peel, or you say, hey, Samuel, you're going to shut him down. He's going to move all over the field. You're going to need to cover him with all different guys, right? Like, all these different guys are going to need to play him. Buxton might have to take a few snaps playing him. Grant might have to be on him. Deuce might have to be on him if Deuce even plays. We don't even know yet, right? Like, it might have to be Raheem Long. So you're going to have different guys that are going to have to get on him and are going to have to be aware of where he is. And it's going to be a real effort as a team in that secondary to make sure you're aware of where he is, where he's moved pre-snap, if he's moving pre-snap, who's communicating, who's taking him, that kind of stuff, right? So it's a very different challenge now than some of what we've seen with like Antonio Williams or Mike Matthews in Tennessee. Like, those guys are more outside Brazel, right? Like, those guys are more outside, stick with where they are. They're going to run the long route. They're going to run the short route. But they're not going to be moving across the formation all the time. This is a different kind of challenge, and it's going to take a lot of different skills that I actually think are harder for the younger guys. And that's what we are in the secondary, right? It's communication, it's preparation, it's all that stuff that's harder for the younger guys. So let's see what they got.
I totally agree. He's crafty, right?
Crafty.
Like, this is the stuff that, like, honestly, like,
that's why the Charlie Jones comparison was so good.
Samuel, right? It's like there's an experience difference here, which is a gap at this age, and so, like, there's just a little bit of hip thrust, right? Like, just being like a little bit, keeping you off balance. Like, he's going to get us a little bit. But I totally agree. Like, that talent drop off is real with these weapons on the outside. And it's like, let's make Mensa make some tough plays against us, I think is really, really where I kind of want to see the defense go. And honestly, I'm excited to see how we come out, because as much as we've been when pressing the defense kind of early in the year, they're getting better. And I got to give E-Rob the credit again on that. Like, I was encouraged last week, and it'd be great to see that momentum carry through to this week here.
And that's one of the things about the secondary. I mentioned they're young. They have literally been getting better. It looks like Samuel gets better every quarter, it looks like to me. Like, every
100%.
quarter, He looks better. Every game, Peel's getting better. Every game, Raheem Long has played way better. I mean, Raheem Long in game 4 versus Raheem Long in game 1 are two different guys.
I mean, he looks like a starting caliber safety now,
He looked
right? Like,
lost at times in that Tennessee game.
I mean, it look just reps, and he looks a ton better. Perry's looks good back there. Like, obviously, you've got guys like Buxton. Like, uh, we've really got a nice rotation back there, and so uh, yeah, it's really encouraging overall with the secondary's growth this year, and a lot of new guys, right? Like, pretty much an entirely new secondary around Grant and Zeus. So, like, I guess Buxton as well, but a lot of fresh faces at the corners, and even Long, who just didn't play much last year.
Yeah. And the other thing is this is like the opposite of Syracuse. I think this is one of the biggest mismatches if you just like lined up the two teams' position groups right now. Wide receiver to me would be the biggest gap between the two teams. Running back, Syracuse has a big
Yeah,
advantage too, but specifically the wide receivers, I think we are so much better, so much deeper than them. And this is not a team I think that can survive if you can take away Barkgate, if you can limit Keyshawn Brown. Like without those two guys, they are not a dynamic passing offense. Can't say the same thing at Syracuse, right? Like you take away Gill one game, well, JRS is popping. You take away Gill and JRS, well, Cook is popping. You take away, Cook and JRS, well, you're going to have Gill and you're going to have Hornsby and you're going to have Russell. And we have a lot of options. We have a lot of guys we can get into. I mean, I know it was Colgate, but Darian Williams looks like a guy all of a sudden that way. Maybe he could give you something. So it's like you got a bunch of guys here that for Syracuse can jump in the mix. And I don't think that's the same at
no,
Duke. And we have to take advantage of that.
totally agree. Cool. Fourth down. Going to kick it back over to the other side of the ball. It's a position group that I've just become very interested in. I think we are as a group. Really interested to see the defensive line rotation, specifically edges this week. I think we've seen obviously some surprise guys, right? Like Tommy Tremble be heavily in the mix
Jamie
now.
Tremble.
Sorry, I've screwed that up an insane number of times. Jamie Tremble on the edge.
Tommy Tuberville's in the middle.
Exactly.
Actually, he's on the right. He's actually on the right.
Tommy is his brother. It is his brother, right? The other guy I know we are now kind of leading the charge on is Chase Simmons, right?
Mhm.
Like I thought he was really impactful last week, and I know he had been playing a lot of offense, or at least had in camp. I really liked his snaps last week, playing edge. He was really disruptive. Just interested to see how that group develops, right? Like a lot of fresh faces, a lot of guys who are earning snaps, I think, by being productive. And I'm interested to see who continues to earn the reps at that position this week, because I thought last week as a whole was the best the defensive line has played all season long.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Tank had a really, really good game.
Yeah.
Another guy we called out though, who made a big play on the fumble, Perry, right? Like
Yeah.
not only did he recover it, but he took on a double team, kind of tripped up the guy, and Antoine was able to go in there and just punch the ball out. We've seen obviously, as you said, Tremble, Simmons get back involved. We have a lot of guys that could potentially play. And the other thing we've seen is we've seen guys go down. I know Clemson, we got fined because we were, faking injuries, but we've seen a lot of our defensive line depth be tested early in the season. And I think they've responded well. And so we have a lot of guys who can get a lot of snaps. And I want to keep seeing a lot of guys get a lot of snaps, but I do want to see us start to maybe lean a little bit more towards, Simmons. I really like what Hawkes has given us this year. I really like what Jobity's given us this year. Like, I want to see those guys start to maybe take the next step too, right? Like, we've started to get a lot of pressure now, but now I want to see some of these guys take that next step and become playmakers, right? Like, let's get in the backfield. Let's get a couple sacks. You talked about it last week as a key, right? Like, let's get a couple sacks, right? Like, who's that going to come from? Because there's right now there's a lot of guys who are playing really well. Hawkes is playing well. Jobity's playing well. Thomas is playing well. Dion Tank Wilson's playing well. You've got Simmons, who we love. Tremble's getting in there. So like, who here is now going to step up and take that next step to not only be a good player but start becoming like a playmaker?
Be the guy you can't take off the field, right? If you make a couple huge plays, right, coach isn't taking you off the field when you put it's a sack on first down. Now they're in 2nd and 19, right? Like that's what earns you more reps and makes you a guy that doesn't come off the field.
And like you said, that was Simmons' last game, right? Like we saw Simmons play, and it was in the middle of the game. You were like, yo, why is Simmons not on the field more? And right after you said that, it was like Simmons started playing every other snap at that point, right?
He earned it. The staff saw it too, and they're like, you know what? He's the guy who's disrupting this game. He is going to play the rest of the way right now. And I think like you said, there's a lot of guys getting opportunities. There's some guys making impacts, but who's going to be the guy who really takes that leap forward, I think would be interesting. And look, it's a good week to do that, right? You're going to be in a packed dome. It's going to be it's going to be as loud as it gets in the Loud House this week, right? Like it's going to be tough to communicate. Let's get after the quarterback and get the crowd in the game, right?
And the other thing is early in the game, Fran's going to give every one of these guys a chance. And I think that's great, right? Like early in the game, you're going to get a chance if you're one of these guys, if you're Hawkes, if you're Jabity, if you're, Simmons, you're going to get that chance. And if you go and you take that chance, like Simmons kind of did in the last game, like Tremble has started to do almost every other game. Like if you're some of these guys and you can take those opportunities, Fran's going to reward you. He's proven that, right? Like I think we're going to see a lot more of Perry today, just based off of that one great play he had. It was a game-changing play, right? Like you're going to see some more of that. So I totally agree. I think it's a great call. I want to see more from that group, not because they've been bad, but because they've actually been really, really solid. And I want to see if they could take the next step to go from like solid to game wrecker status, right? Like let's stop being solid on the defensive line. Let's wreck some games as the defensive line.
Totally. Because I think that's a big part of helping Ricky out too, right? It's just the defense playing well. Like let's not put us in a hole. Let's
get some plus field starting. Yeah.
Totally. Like let's help out our offense a little bit. Let's make this easy on the kid making his first start, right?
I mean, plus territory is something that makes it really easy. Getting a turnover and then being in the opponent's red zone is a big deal. Look at how Ricky scored his touchdown last week.
Right. Then you just toss it into the JRS zone by the front pylon, dude. Got his parking spot over there.
Yeah, we got to rename that front pylon. You're right. But you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff is very important. And we talked about our team not having that for Klubnik last week, right? Like don't let a struggling offense all of a sudden find a little bit of something by giving them short fields. On the other side now for the defense, let's find a way to give Ricky something by helping him out, right? And I think the defense is going to be critical to that. And, definitely the defensive line and also the secondary. But, like, we know how much easier it can be playing in the secondary when that QB doesn't feel like he has time. When that QB starts to get that happy feet in the pocket because he knows guys are coming. One of the plays we broke down was that 4th down where, Tremble doesn't get the sack, but he knocks Klubnik off the spot, delays the whole play, and that allows Bryant to make a play on the pass, right? It's like, it's those little things that you can do if you can get to the quarterback. Amaporiolo is another guy who, like, Amaporiolo has been solid at times this year. Like, I want to see him take the next step. Reese, and we haven't even mentioned Reese yet. Like, Reese has been one of our best players. We got to stop putting him on a spy, though. That the one E-Rob thing that's really pissing me off right now is putting him on a spy. He did it with Fadil as like last resort, and it kind of worked a little bit. And now it seems like he wants to do it with Reese, and I hate it with Reese. And I love Reese as a player, but I want him rushing the passer.
It's not what he's good at. It's not what he's good at. I don't want to see it anymore. It doesn't. I don't think we're going to get that wish because it appears to be part of just our regular
scheme.
Kind of sets. But you're right with Reese, dude. He's been so solid this year. He's been arguably our best defensive lineman, maybe.
But you could say that about like a bunch of guys. We could agree with a bunch of these guys being the best.
There's been a lot of guys who've played solid.
Let's take the next step. Let's find somebody to take the next step. All right, Tab, Fran Brown Round Up. Let's start with the $25,000 fine that we got for beating Clemson in Death Valley Junior. We should have known better. We're not allowed to beat Clemson at home. We'd clearly never done it because it's illegal. And so because it's illegal and we weren't allowed to do it, Fran should have known better that you're not allowed to beat Davo in Death Valley. And so they fined us $25,000 for beating Clemson, for beating Cade Klubnik and for beating Dabo in Death Valley Jr. And we should have known better. That's on us.
I mean, I have so many thoughts about this. Yes, we should have known better. It's in the bylaws of the ACC once we basically agreed to just pay Clemson more money each year that when they lose, we're just going to penalize the other teams even further just to give them more of an advantage. The other thing that was just goofy about this to me is like $25,000 is like such a negligible amount. It's such a clear, like, we're just appeasing Clemson move here, right? Like, if it was like, it's not even a material fine, like it's clear the conference doesn't care. The conference doesn't care. That's why they fined us $25,000. Like, it's half a scholarship.
I'd
It's
have
like,
been less mad if they fined us $25 million, to be honest with you.
right. It's like, it's such a stupid slap on the wrist, right? Like, it's just, it's unserious. It's an unserious penalty. And if you were worried about the cheating component of this, which is fucking ludicrous, you fine us like, $250,000. You make us feel it if you really think you want us to care about it. It's the whole thing is just so performative. It's just a joke. It's a fucking joke.
Do you think it's going to save Dabo's job? Do they think it's going to save Dabo's job? I don't think it's saving Dabo's job.
I don't know, dude. He was giving a sermon to his players yesterday in the practice field. Like,
we're doing a lot of winning. We've done a lot of winning here. Right. We've done a lot of winning here. Dumbass. Right.
Guy just wants to run down the hill a few more times,
Jesus isn't saving you, buddy.
He's not. No. But I'm over the guy. I'm over the guy. I don't even want to talk about him anymore. I don't want to talk about Clemson or Klubnik or any of this nonsense anymore. They can enjoy the
I want to keep talking about Klubnik because he sucks, dude. And I want to take this victory lap on him. He's going down in flames in a way that DJU couldn't even do. DJU couldn't even go down in flames like this. Like, at least he got injured at Florida State before they went 1-8.
Oh yeah, right. Like, I mean, it could get really ugly for Clemson. I think like that team is bad. Like we went through the film. There's a million things they need to clean up on that team. I don't think makes me question some of the other teams that have beaten them by slim margins.
LSU being number one.
I don't know how good LSU is.
I don't know how good LSU is.
And even Georgia Tech, like the two teams Georgia Tech is.
No, Colorado's not good. And Clemson does not appear to be good. I mean, the thing is they have a bye week now, Clemson, and then they're going to play North Carolina, and then they're going to play Boston College. And this is what I look forward to. I look forward to them potentially winning those next two games on the road, which, by the way, both of those games are on the road. And if this season goes disaster level and they happen to lose to either Bill Belichick or Bill O'Brien, and I think, by the way, BC on the road is not going to be an easy game for them.
I was going to say, that's the game. UNC is horrible. I think there's no better get-right game in the ACC this year. UNC might be Stanford level bad right now.
Right. We don't know, but listen, even if they win the North Carolina game and then they win the Boston College game, there's going to be like all of a sudden this like, oh, they're 3-3. How good can they be? And let me just read you their schedule from there. So then they have SMU at home. They have Duke at home. They have Florida State at home. They go on the road to Louisville. They play Furman, and they play at South Carolina. Legitimately, I think the best case scenario for this team is 4-8.
Wow.
I don't see any shot of them beating Louisville on the road. I don't see any shot of them beating South Carolina on the road. I don't see any shot of them beating Florida State. And Duke and SMU are two really tough games.
Yeah, we'll see. Because there's a world, though, where they get it together a little bit. Like, if that defense can get it together, like, I don't know.
And they do have the bye week. They have it now, which is a good time.
Like that, like, their defense didn't look like it had quit as much against everybody else as it did against Syracuse. Like, I will say that. Like, the LSU game, they were a lot more competitive. Even the Georgia Tech game, like, they played a lot harder on that side of the ball. So there's a chance, like, that unit, I think, could just wake up. I'm not sure where they're going to go on offense. So there's a lot.
Let's see how good Georgia Tech is too, right? Because Georgia Tech is 4-0. They've beaten Colorado by 1 possession. Gardner-Webb. They beat Clemson on a last-second field goal, and they beat Temple, who Temple got curb stomped by Oklahoma. So, like,
Yeah.
they haven't done anything yet. The one thing for Georgia Tech is their schedule goes Wake Forest, Virginia Tech. So they're going to get 6-0. They're going to be 6-0 going into Duke, Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, Pitt, and Georgia. And then my thing is they might be the most fake 6-0 of all time.
Seriously.
And the rest of their schedule is not like necessarily too difficult, but Duke, Syracuse, NC State, BC, Pitt, they're all competent teams.
I mean, there's gonna be a time to get them on the road. Like, there's gonna be a line that's hung on Georgia Tech on the road. That's just gonna be.
I'm staring at that NC State game.
Are they at NC State?
At NC State, the week after Syracuse, the week before BC. It's that, or it's Pitt at home the week before Georgia.
Yeah.
Because if they're like, think about it this way, if they have 2 losses going into Pitt and Georgia left, they might legitimately think we win versus Georgia and we could be in the playoff. And that's going to open up a can of Narduzzi on them, dude.
Yeah, totally. That's a good call. I want to say that NC State game is going to give them trouble, and maybe it will. That game will be that NC State defense is miserable, dude.
Really bad, and it's Dave Thorne too.
It's
man.
really, really bad. Like it's kind of too like their defense wasn't great last year either. Like this team is like because Bailey's been awesome.
Bailey's been awesome.
Like he's maybe been the best quarterback in the league. Like
and Smothers is awesome too.
Like
in a funny way, those 2 teams are very similar to me. Like they both have awesome skill positions and no defense.
They don't play any defense, and so like it's a game where both teams are that'll be a shootout. I mean, that game. I wonder what the over will be on that game. But yeah, NC State's a weird team, dude. They can score a lot, but they cannot stop anything. Like
it's gonna be interesting.
I mean,
that's
what
gonna
did
be an
Duke
interesting
hang
one.
on them? What did Duke?
50. 45. Yeah.
I think UVA hung a huge number on them too. Like
UVA also hung up, but again, so Duke hung a big number on them, but they put up 33 against Duke, and then UVA put up 31, but they put up 35. So this team's going to score. I mean, even Wake Forest put up 24, and we know Ashford's bomb, dude, but this team can score. So like that's one of those.
Wake was beating them. Like Wake was up at halftime.
Yeah, and then CJ Bailey kind of took over that game. He was epic in that second half. But that's one of those teams that team is dangerous because they're dangerous because even though their defense sucks, they could score. So you're going to have to score a bunch to beat them.
And I will say, I think Wake Forest is going to be stingy for quarters and halves this year in the ACC.
I just don't trust Robbie Ashford. Give me Haynes King over Robbie Ashford all day.
I would too, a million times over. I think they're well coached though, so I think the coach can scheme them into games for a little while. Like they're scoring more than they should be with Ashford playing quarterback. Right
That's true. That's definitely true. They're competent. Wake Forest is actually somewhat competent this year, which is kind of a surprise to me and not something I was expecting. That was a nice little ACC roundup. Let's jump into Fran being on Rich Eisen, and Fran kind of being everywhere this week as per usual. But he was on Rich Eisen. That was awesome to see. They were obviously giving Fran his flowers there. But he had a good interview, and this is kind of the thing: is Fran's raising our profile. Cam Newton was talking about Fran. He was talking about us. Like Fran is definitely one thing. He's raising the profile of Syracuse, which is good to see because we were saying this before we jumped on. I don't think Syracuse gets enough credit for its pivotal role in college football's history.
Totally. I mean, it really is. It's kind of been forgotten about, dude. It's a program that's really kind of been dormant in terms of its legacy, but like we've talked about, there is a significant history to do with college football, and one that Fran, I think, appreciates, right? And so, yeah, it's just it's really exciting to feel that energy just around the program again, dude, because it sort of feels like this like kind of old, I'm not going to go as far as giant, but this just old kind of legacy program that is finally kind of back off the mat a little bit where they've just been.
Feels like a rebirth.
It does. It really does, and it's cool to see it, And I think Fran's really bridging eras with the way he's running this program and
Bringing all
how
the guys back.
exactly, and how he's just getting out there, right? Like we've talked about it. Like there's been now multiple stories where he has been all over the national media, dude. Whether it's making the team run or him pulling a huge upset, this nonsense fine, like Fran is he's out there. Like he's gonna keep us in the national spotlight, and that's part of what makes this experience so fun with him as the head coach.
It's a good thing for Syracuse.
Unequivocally, yes. Like you can't. There's no way you can spin this as a bad thing for us.
All right, last segment here. As we jump in, this is our fan call out. So again, if you hit us up on X, if you hit us up on TikTok and you have any questions, you hit us up in the comments on YouTube. If you have any questions that you want answered, we're gonna go ahead and answer them here. I got one from Orange Franz at Franz the Man Cuse on X, and he asked, I feel like we can make the ACC championship game. What are your thoughts? I'll go ahead and I'll kick this off, Tav. I do think Syracuse is a really good football team this year. I really do. I think our wide receivers, I think our running backs are really, really excellent. Like, I think we're probably the best in the ACC, in my opinion, in those two position groups. I think our offensive line has started to round into shape. And that's really awesome to see because, we knew we had a lot of talent there, but we didn't really know if it would click or how we would look. But it looks like it's starting to round into shape. And, if that Clemson game is any kind of indicator, and if that Clemson D line is what they're supposed to be, we push them around a little bit. So I'd love to see that. We've talked about our defensive line being solid. And, if we want to maybe make an ACC championship game level, they need to take the next step from solid to game wreckers. And then when it comes to our linebackers, that was definitely an area of weakness for us. But again, we've started to see we may have something here with this Gary Bryant, Antoine Delorier, mixing in Sparrow, mixing in Tremble, mixing in a few guys here and there. But really with the Gary Bryant, Antoine Delorier, we may have found something that's definitely workable and potentially decent. And then when we get to our secondary, it is elite. It is elite for the ACC, in my opinion. So if you look at running back, wide receiver, secondary, we're about as elite as you get in the ACC. And then really the one thing, obviously, that I haven't touched on yet is QB. And that's for obvious reason. And I do really feel like with the way that Steve had started to click in that Clemson game, if Steve is healthy, I think ACC championship is 100% on the table for this team. I really do. I think it could be one of the dark horses because of the way he was passing the ball, the comfortability he was getting. Now having to switch to Ricky midseason, nothing against Ricky, that does throw a wrench into that prognostication, right? Because we have to see Ricky. So before any of this makes any sense, we do have to see what Ricky looks like out there, real live reps, an actual game plan built around him with him ready to go. I don't really think you can take much from him stepping in any situation because that's really hard to do, whether that was Clemson, whether that was Colgate. That's stepping in the middle of a game where it's just not, that's not the same thing. You're driving somebody else's car kind of situation. You know what I'm saying? Now it's his car. What can he do with it? And we want to see what he could do. But in terms of what we have, I do think we are a really, really good team. So if Ricky can come in and give us a good level of quarterback play, we're going to surprise some people. If he can maybe give us the elite quarterback play we were starting to see from Angeli, then yes, I do believe this is a near ACC championship team. However, when you look at the ACC landscape, I do think Miami is head and shoulders above everybody. And I do think Miami is a top 5 team in the country. And then when you take down to the next tier, you've got Florida State, who I think, again, is really, really loaded with talent. I'm not a believer in Castellanos. I think he's going to fade at some point. He's done it every season where he starts super hot. He wins a few big games in the beginning. And then when he starts to get hit and beat up a little bit, he runs around and it doesn't work out for him. So I think Florida State's really good, but I think they have weaknesses. I think Georgia Tech's pretty good, but I think their defense is a mess. And, I don't really know how good Georgia Tech is. I do think Louisville is really good. So for me, if I'm going to guess the ACC championship game right now, my guess is Miami versus Louisville. What do you think?
Yeah, before I get there, I agree with pretty much everything you said across the board about what our chances look like for the ACC right now. I think it's really tough to say without seeing Ricky. I think I'll go out there and say I don't think we're probably winning or making the ACC championship this year with a quarterback change in the middle of the year like this. Like really, like you're saying, just because we had built this system really around Steve and it was starting to click, I think, in a way that not going to be impossible, but we're just going to have to change what we were doing a little bit.
What do you think our chances would have been with Steve, though, if Steve was magically healthy?
I think we had an outside chance. Like, I mean,
dark horse, no, definitely.
I think we were a dark horse. I mean, I think there was a 10 to 15% chance. I think like what our odds reflect right now in the books, which is wild because we obviously had we're having a change of quarterback. I think we're like plus 800, plus 900. I think that's about appropriate for us to win the ACC right now. 8 or 9 to 1. But what I think about the ACC now, I think Miami's the best team. I actually think Miami is a pretty, to your point, a pretty clear step up above everybody else right now. I think that Notre Dame win is going to continue to get better throughout the year. I think Notre Dame is actually good. I just think they struggled those first two couple games against tough teams. The other side of that is much tougher. I think Florida State is, in my opinion, the clear next best team. I know you're not a Castellanos guy. I just don't think he has to do that much with this team this year. Like that roster's so loaded. Like if he can just stay on the field, kind of like opposite of what you were saying there, if he can maybe just take a few less hits this year because he's not on a team that needs him to do as much.
He can't. He's not proven he's been able to do that. So I'm not going to buy into that.
But it's a different style team. So that's sort of where I'm coming from there. I think they're the clear second best roster as a whole. In my opinion.
I would agree with that.
I think those are the two best teams. I think they are probably on a collision course in the ACC championship. I don't think SMU is as good this year. I don't think they're as real. They kind of seem like a little bit soft to me. Georgia Tech, similar, like really like quarterback, running back. Defense is horrible. NC State's defense is horrible. I don't think Duke's a real threat. Pitt's fine. Like, I don't know. I think those are the two best teams. Like, I do like Louisville too, but I think Florida State is just is a step above them at a talent level right now.
We may have to find a way to put a little fun wager on this, where if it ends up being Florida State, you win, and if it ends up being Louisville, I win. We'll maybe have to discuss a little fun wager on that.
I think we can craft
a little
something
side wager. Yeah. And if it's Syracuse, we all win. So
right, exactly. What is nice though is that one loss against Tennessee for us is a non-conference game. That's what's nice about.
And you talked about the Notre Dame win getting better and better. That Tennessee loss is getting better and better every week, dude.
100%. I mean, Tennessee looks like what is for sure a top 10 team in the country.
Because I was not a Joey Aguilar believer. Go back and watch the Tennessee preview. I did not think Joey Aguilar would pop. But, the one thing that I did say in that was, hey, the Heupel system does allow quarterbacks to limit their turnovers. And that was his biggest issue at App State. So now you've got a guy who you're limiting his turnovers, but he still has all the upside that he's had the whole time. So I really think Tennessee is like a really, really dangerous team when it comes to the playoff and the national championship right now. So that loss for us has gotten better and better. And I do really think with the way that Angeli had really started to click and started to pop, he was starting to get to that next level of quarterback. And with that, I do think we were right there in the ACC. Again, we have to see what Ricky can do. But if Ricky can bring any kind of competence to that QB position, I don't see any reason with our schedule why it's not possible, dude.